Imagine you are suddenly summoned into another world, in order to fight a monster, called the Demon Lord. Since you are called the hero, you think that, you must have gained some dope-ass mind-boggling powers, only to find out that, you have a pocket-size Amazon, as your godly powers, that lets you purchase various things online, in exchange for money, and, it doesn't need internet to function. Well, that is the story of our protagonist, Tsuyoshi Makoto, who is summoned from Japan to this alternate world, along with these three idiots, in order to become the heroes of this stupid kingdom. And, as per typical isekai anime, unlike the other douchebags, who have gained overpowered swordsmanship, and magical abilities, our guy, only possesses, the super useless online grocery skill, that lets him spend money, and order products online from a magical store, situated somewhere in this anime. After a brief introduction, the summoners meet the king, who is this fat-ass dipshit, who starts blabbering about, how these so-called heroes, are the only hope for this kingdom, that can defeat the Demon Lord, and save them. And these three wankers, start talking about the Demon Lord, as if they are some big-shot heroes of the past. Anyway, believing that, the royals are not that trustworthy, Makoto convinces them, that his skill is useless in their fight against the Demon Lord, and he would rather stay out of the war, and live like an ordinary person. He then accepts some money, quietly disappear from the kingdom. Since, traveling services have been stopped in the country, in order to prevent people from leaving the kingdom, Makoto visits an adventure guild, and hires, this hunky dude, called Werner, and his team of thick-ass adventurers, to escort him to the neighboring kingdom, called Venin. While traveling, Makoto cooks for them, using his super butler skill, and prepares the food on a modern camping stove, that he has recently bought on isekai Amazon, for a hefty discount. And they start simping over his cooking skills. At night, when everyone is simping about his cooking again, this old man drops some wisdom about how good food can make your body stronger. But, Makoto discovers that, the food he cooks, can boost the health, and magic parameters of the person eating it. And, Makoto decides to keep his skill a secret, because he thinks, if people find out about his skill, they will definitely try to keep him as a slave, and take advantage of his powers. Meanwhile, we see a large, white, dog, wolf, thingy, lurking in the shadows, watching them secretly. They all travel for a bit, and that night, when everyone is simping about his cooking again, the food attracts the big dog, which is a legendary wolf monster called Fenrir, and the doggy demands to eat the food they are eating. After eating a shit ton of meat, cooked by this poor fellow, using a single cooking stove, and a tiny-ass cooking pot, the doggy is so impressed that, he commands him on becoming his pet. Yup, the doggy commands him, instead of requesting. Unable to reject the angry-looking dangerous doggy, the contract of becoming a familiar, is now complete, and the doggy asks Makoto, aka, Mr. Butler, to name him. And, after denying some cute and fuzzy names, the stupid doggy happily agrees to the name, Fel, which, absolutely makes no sense for a dog. On their way, Hunky Dude, tells Mr. Butler that, entering Venin will be difficult, since, Big Doggy here, is a legendary monster, who can destroy an entire kingdom by himself, and they will surely draw attention. And the doggy replies, I will kill anyone, who stands in our way. During lunchtime, the doggy orders for more meat, to which, Mr. Butler orders him to go get his own meat, if he wants to eat. Doggy agrees to him, like a good little pussycat, and he goes away to hunt. And these wussy-ass cowards, are amazed by him, for standing up to such a legendary monster. When they reach the borders of Venin Kingdom, Doggy draws attention of the guards, and Mr. Butler, tries to talk things out with the doggy. After they sort out the situation with the guards, they are finally allowed to enter the kingdom, along with the doggy. After hearing to some suggestions about which guild to join, Mr. Butler decides to register at the Merchants Guild, as well as the Adventuring Guild, since he is planning to use the online grocery skill to become a traveling trader and see the world. Almost immediately, Mr. Butler is greeted by this slimy fatso, and receives an invitation to meet his master, Margrave Limp Dick. It turns out that their objective was to lure in the doggy to use his power, and, after being threatened by our doggy, the fat man runs away like a little pussycat. He bids farewell to Hunky Dude and his group, and heads out for a merchant guild to register himself. At the guild, the counter lady opens up her thick book and drops some wisdom about the benefits of different ranks of merchant, and some other shit related to it. Since Mr. Butler wants to run a traveling food stall to visit different countries, he registers himself as an iron rank merchant. Next day, he visits the merchant guild to sell some salt and pepper that he bought from the online grocery. To his surprise, he discovers that items like salt and pepper, which he purchased from online grocery for 10 copper coins, are actually some dope-ass rare commodities in this world. And he ends up selling a bag of salt and pepper for 17 shiny gold coins. After that, he goes to join the Adventurers Guild. And we meet this grumpy-ass chick, who just vaguely tells us what adventuring is, and how the guild works. Mr. Butler learns that he must complete one quest every month to maintain his membership. And to keep it simple, he accepts a quest of gathering medicinal plants. The next day, Mr. Butler goes to complete his mission, while the doggy goes off to hunt for more meat, since he is hungry. The doggy is able to sense various different monsters in the area, therefore, he casts a shiny little protective barrier around Makoto in order to protect his butler. Mr. Butler is easily able to complete the quest, since he has those Superman X-ray eyes that only the heroes have. And after the quest is over, they both meet up for their lunch and enjoy some tasty-looking spaghetti together. Mr. Butler soon finds out that Doggy has hunted over 3 whole mountain load of monsters in order to satisfy his appetite, and he starts transporting the monsters into his item fridge. Although Mr. Butler is deeply grossed out by the thoughts of eating a orc, since it possesses a more humanoid appearance, in reality, they are actually an acceptable food source in this world that even the humans eat. They are basically treated as walking pigs in this world. While returning back to the city, the doggy suggests him to ride on his back, so that they can travel faster than before. And it turns out that our doggy ain't just a taxi cab. It's a dope-ass, four-legged Batmobile. While submitting his quest materials at the Adventurers Guild, we find out that the grumpy-ass chick actually has a doggy beast fetish, as she looks at our doggy with her big horny eyes. After that, Mr. Butler takes the monsters to the butcher of the Adventurers Guild in order to sell their parts. And we find out that there are some high-ranking monsters mixed inside that pile of monster shit. Mr. Butler keeps the meat in order to feed his fat-ass dog, while he sells the rest of the body parts for money. The next day, when he goes to collect his paycheck, he receives a mountain load of delicious-looking meat, a big bag containing around 200 gold coins, and some magic stones, which looks like kidney stones. Since Mr. Butler was surprised by the amount of money he got, the butcher started dropping wisdom bombs about the high value of monster testicles, which is often underestimated by amateurs. This butcher is a man of culture. While returning, Doggy starts to complain that he is hungry after seeing the mountain of meat. And since Makoto is fucking rich right now, he celebrates by introducing the doggy to the rich people Japanese beef called Wagyu. The doggy immediately gets an orgasm after eating the tiny little piece of rich people meat and demands for more. But unfortunately, such high-quality Japanese meat boosts up Doggy's stats so high that he starts to feel cocky enough to think that he can now defeat the dragon pretty easily. After putting the shiny barrier around his butler, he runs off into the mountains and begins to hunt like a madshit crazy serial killer. The doggy keeps hunting strong monsters all night, going absolutely ham on their ass, and among the monsters, there was also a rare orc general, and even a legendary chimera. Scared out of his mind by the shit ton of dead weird monsters around him, Makoto decides to never feed him rich people meat again. The next day, while having their breakfast, Mr. Butler and the doggy talk about magic stuff, and our boy gets excited to use some of that magic stuff himself. But, when he asks for some tutorial about using magic, the doggy replies like a talented dickhead, which totally goes over the butler's head, and he fails to cast any magic. Seeing him embarrassed, the doggy finally dropped some magical wisdom upon him. Makoto finally understands, and discovers that he can also use magic, but it is pathetically weak. The doggy insists that combat is the only way to improve his skills, and carries him away, like a little puppy. He forces his wussy-ass butler to fight an entire goblin village by himself, and Wolf howls at them to catch their attention. The goblins start chasing and attacking Mr. Butler. While he is running away like a little pussycat, he trips over a stone and falls down like a clumsy anime girl. Just as he is about to be killed, the plot armor barrier protects him against the dozens of goblins who are punching the shit out of that barrier, but dealing absolutely no damage. Realizing that he doesn't need to give any fuck about his defense anymore, he starts firing off fireballs, just like a horny teenager learning to masturbate for the first time. He keeps doing it again and again, until he faints due to exhaustion. But Big Doggy rescues him from the final group of goblins. When he wakes up, the doggy compliments him for leveling up, and rewards his effort by presenting him a dead goblin king. Although it is inedible, it contains a valuable magic stone that they can sell for lots of money. And we realize that this was the doggy's ulterior motive, in order to make his butler order some of that rich people meat again. But it seems like rich people meat is seriously banned forever. Anyways, too exhausted to cook, Makoto orders a box full of dessert pastries, and feeds him a plate of assorted desserts. And the doggy happens to like sweet stuff as well. While eating, Mr. Butler tries to drop some wisdom bombs about health and sugar problems. To this, Doggy reveals that he is blessed by Ninrir, the wind goddess, due to which, he is immune to all poison and sickness, as well as status ailments. It also makes his wind magic more powerful. Jealous of the fact that even a doggy has got a blessing of his own, Makoto calls out for any and every goddess available to bless him with their juices. Elsewhere, a sexy-ass white-haired woman is actually hearing his request. Back to the story, it looks like a woman is running away from some monsters, which turns out to be the doggy and his butler. While the guard starts his anime speech of how a big bad doggy can be troublesome for the town, the doggy starts talking to his butler using telepathy, when the guards think of him to be an ordinary dog. He warns his butler to better correct them properly, or else he is gonna rip his tool off. And, after hearing about a long-ass boring plethora of terms and conditions, they finally enter the town. In order to stop wandering aimlessly, Mr. Butler puts his doggy in a doghouse, along with some treats, and goes into the town to buy a map. But he learns that, due to the ongoing war between the countries, accurate maps of the world are national secrets. By the way, the salt and pepper that he bought for 10 copper coins was sold at 17 gold coins. Can't he just make fuckloads of money by dropshipping different items in this world? And he still thinks he can't buy a book for 7 gold coins. When he returns back, the doggy is in a bad mood because of hunger, and the butler plans on ordering online food again. I won't go into the details here, but they are eating food that looks fucking tasty, and my mouth is watering up. Next day, he visits a pub in order to get some information about the town, where he buys these 3 dipshits a round of beer in order to butter them up. When he starts talking to them about maps, they showed him a map that has the general location of the kingdoms and their dungeons, and they agree to sell it for 1 gold coin. He agrees to buy it, but he soon learns that he was cheated big time by those 3 scumrags, since such maps are a basic item available at all adventurer guilds for just 1 silver coin. But since he is a rich-ass kid with a big bad dog by his side, he doesn't give a fuck and decides to head east to a kingdom by the ocean. And our doggy mentions about various mythical seafoods that they can eat over there. For example, kraken and sea serpents. It is revealed that our doggy is actually the household pet of the goddess Ninrir. She is watching both of them using her Dumbledore TV, and she is surprised to find out that the big bad doggy has actually agreed to become the familiar of a human being. While traveling on his Batmobile, the butler and his doggy stop by a lake in order to fill up their gas tank by eating fish. And doggy teaches us a new method of catching fish when we don't have a fishing rod. Watch carefully. Mr. Butler then goes on a shopping spree, collecting different kinds of semi-paralyzed fish, and they have a grand buffet of different seafood cuisines. After dinner, Mr. Butler suddenly comes across this cute little slime. And, since it is so adorable, he wants to feed him something, even though they are out of food. But it turns out that Fuzzball here can eat anything, from plastic to pebbles, and it is basically a garbage eater. Mr. Butler is amazed at its garbage cleaning skills, and the slime becomes his familiar, and he names it Sway. The next day, Mr. Butler is practicing his magical abilities, to which Doggy suggests experiencing another real-life fighting situation, in order to become stronger. But, to hell with that plan, because Mr. Wussy-ass is not gonna do such a stupid thing again. And, as usual, they have another detailed eating session. Man, this series makes me hungry every time I watch it. We also learn that, when the slime is happy, it acts like a vibrating dildo. Don't know why. The next day, Doggy mentions to his butler that Goddess Ninrir appeared in his dreams last night, and, since Makoto was asking for some godly juices like a little bitch, she has agreed to give him a modest blessing of the gods, in return for the sweet delicacies of Makoto's world, every week. Yup, she is ready to bless him, for the sole purpose of eating dessert pastries. But, he is excited to receive the juices of a sexy-ass goddess, and he agrees to the offer. The procedure for this is to provide her offerings every week at her altar. And an altar can be anything, where he can place the sweet stuff for her to teleport away. As soon as he places the sweet stuff for her, it disappears, and in return, he gains the divine protection. And, as for the goddess, she gets an orgasm after eating the food our world has perfected over the years. Mr. Butler starts practicing his magic again, and he finds out that his skills have gotten stronger after he received the divine blessing. Later, while the gang is enjoying their chocolate, the goddess talks to Mr. Butler, giving him a divine revelation in her godly voice. And the big revelation was to send her chocolates and dorayaki using express delivery. Since he has no other choice than to accept, he agrees, and sends her the sweet stuff, much to her delight. Just then, the doggy and the butler take off in a rush, and the doggy is seen to be taking his butler to a mysterious place. Hope you have enjoyed the video so far. See you in the next one.